Frank J. Avella with the Contending. Maura Delpero's exquisite second narrative feature, Vermiglio, took home a slew of awards at this year's Venice Film Festival, including the Grand Jury Prize. The movie is Italy's international feature Oscar submission. Benvenuto, Maura.
Grazie, grazie mille.
Prego. I love this film. First of all, congratulations on representing Italy at the Oscars. Was that a surprise?
Yes, yes, two very beautiful news.
Very much so. So I saw the film again the other night, and the world that you create felt so authentic. As an Italian myself, I felt I understood these people, the dynamics going on in the family, but also they're mountain people. So they live and survive in a very different way. Could you speak about that?
First of all, thank you for watching it twice. I really work a lot on layers and details, so to me it's a big privilege if the viewer sees watches it twice because I know he will see or she will see more things. And as you say, it's travel in time, but also in space. And it's really important, this mountain isolated situation that really changes the way people move and talk and behave. And this this concept and this feeling of the human being much more little than nature and much more little than life. So in a way, all the film is depicting these little human beings inside this enormous nature that is, of course, the big place we are supposed to live in.
Yes, and the fact that there's a war raging, and
Mhm.
yet, they don't really feel it until the soldiers, come to town. It's really fascinating because they're just trying to live.
I think I was really interested in talking about war from the point of view of the people who didn't go to the battlefield, but at the same time they suffered war in direct and indirect way.
Yeah.
All the deprivation that the society has when there's a war going on. A couple of the male population that is not there, which causes the fact that are orphans in the society, that there are people waiting for the people not coming. That economy is really like asking you very difficult decision, as for example, which son or daughter has to study and which not, because not everyone can. So a lot of deprivation that the war causes. And of course, as you say, when the soldiers arrive, they are the face of the war, and it's a face that has empty eyes and that doesn't have no words. They don't speak because they what they saw is not you cannot tell. I wanted to say also and to show how war you cannot tell the
Yeah.
tragedy is.
Yeah, and I think you captured that absolutely, I mean, magnificently. You talked about time and place, and it's very interesting because I felt the cold. I
Mhm.
could taste the food. I could smell the cows. It was quite
Yeah,
startling.
yeah. I mean, all the narrative and aesthetic choices were meant to allow the viewer an immersive experience. Me, myself, I immerse myself in the world when I write a script. Both if I do documentaries or fiction, I really try to enter with the five senses another world. And I think it's the magic of cinema. If you can give this opportunity to the viewer, you go back home with something. I mean, it's a really experience. It's not like just shutting off the phone. It's really like being in another planet and having another life for 2 hours.
Hmm. Which is, yeah, that's exactly what it is. The best films are. I read that the idea for Vermiglio came to you in a dream. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, it's a dream about my father. I mean, my father came to visit me in a dream. He had just passed away. Of course, it was a sad period, and this dream was happy. In a sad moment, there has been a happy dream because he was a little child He was a happy little child, smiling to me and playing with his siblings, my aunts and uncles, in their childhood home, which was in Vermiglio. Vermiglio is the name of this little town up in the mountains. He came from a family of 10 kids. And I just began to follow these kids playing, and I realized it was really interesting to set a film in a place and with people I really know very well, but in a moment in which I couldn't have known because I was not born.
Mm. Well, I want to discuss the characters in detail in a moment, but I first want to ask you about casting, um, and why you decided to blend seasoned actors with these wonderful newcomers. I mean, it works so well.
It's difficult. A mixed cast is a big challenge. Always difficult. It's the second time I do it. But if it works, I think it is even better because I think that we used to think that non-professional learn from professionals, and I
Mm,
think the opposite. I think very good actors can really find a fantastic challenge in working with people that cannot repeat in the same way, that they don't have technique, that have a very strong parameter of truth because it is the only parameter they know. So in a way, of course, you have to take a lot of time. I give a lot of time to cast and to rehearsals. And I went personally to the farms, to the bars, to the little all the little places in the village to find the right faces that
mm.
those people would never had showed up at the casting. I mean, overall, the old man, they wouldn't ever, because they, of course, and at the beginning, when I proposed them to do a film, they were smiling and very gently laughing and saying, "Come on." And then they are all in the film. I'm so happy because they are really rooted in the territory, and their faces talk about the past and talk about the culture, and the way they talk and the way they move, the dialect they use, everything. I confirm it's really authentic.
Well, again, it feels, it feels very authentic. I have family throughout Italy. I love the exploration of the sibling dynamics. You have three girls, four boys, all different ages. For instance, I love the nighttime chatting and questioning of the younger children. It was so real.
Yeah, I think one of the music of the film is this whisper, this night whisper. And it's a world in which, of course, you cannot say a lot of things. You're not allowed, but then the viewer has the privilege to spy this intimate moment of the night in which they say what they heard about the stories that are happening to the adults that they are looking at and their point of view. And I think the point of view of children and teenagers is so beautiful because it's sweet and rough at the same time. They kind of say the thing in a very straight way, very irreverent and very and without a lot of filters we used to put we adults. So I really wanted to have this Greek chorus commenting during the night what big and little was happening during the daytime.
It's so refreshing, actually. And I want to talk about the rich characters. Personally, and I wrote this in my analysis of the international features, which is we'll be publishing later this week. Dino and Virginia are my two favorite characters. I'd watch a film just about those two characters.
Oh, that's nice. I love Dino because, I mean, all the characters are inspired directly or indirectly to my family and to the village. So Dino is inspired by an uncle that was kind of the black sheep of the family, and always found it so unfair because he has this emotional intelligence that is so rare and really precious in life, but some people don't understand it. For
Mm,
example, the father teacher doesn't understand. The mother, yes, The mother deeply loves him and understands him. The father, since he's an illuminist, he doesn't accept that he doesn't have this type of intelligence to go to school and etc. But he's a very important character. He's the one who saves Lucia when she goes in the mountains, and he's always there to be kind of another father in this society in which there are few men, and that the little ones need those examples, and I think he's one of those people who don't go to sleep until they are sure that everyone is okay.
Yeah.
And I love, of course, these people. And Virginia and Ada, I think that relationship is very nice because I think it's solitudes that encounter. Virginia is an orphan and she's hidden by the mother, and she would like to live outside the little village. She would be more a city girl, but those people who are more and no one understand, and she's definitely an outsider. But I like the fact that there is a power relationship with Ada, and at the beginning, of course, she's the strong and she's the fascinating, and but when they say goodbye, it is Ada that takes the initiative to go and has the courage to give a strong hug. So I like that relationship also moves and surprises you.
Very much, and I think I took to them more than likely because they are the rebel characters.
Yeah.
Um, let's discuss Ada for a moment because I loved this depiction of her sexuality and her coming to terms with it, but also the shame. Anybody who's grown up Catholic understands that shame that is just permeated in the culture.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I was born in a Catholic society, and as a woman, because it's not just that you are in a Catholic society, it is also that you are a woman, and in a way, in that time, women's sexuality was completely, like no, you're having sex to have children, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, if you think she shares this book with the father, this nudes book, of course he doesn't know. Um, but it makes me think that the fact that for the father, uh, looking at that book simply means smoking a cigarette. And for her, it means an enormous punishment.
Mm,
So in a way, you really feel that there, what it is for a woman at that time, feeling a big sexuality as she feels, because she's a Vulcan. She's a
yeah.
silent Vulcan. I like to think about her as this is an expression by Ebony Dickinson, a silent Vulcan.
Mm,
I feel that she's really this, that she's kind of always like shuts down. She's very obedient. She is a second mother to the babies that are born in the house, but she is really a Vulcan. And at the end of the film, she finds paradoxically her freedom in a place that for us is a cluster, but jail is a not freedom place, but of course it has to do with the code of the epochs. But in a way, it is her way to be able to be free and to study and to smoke and to maybe explore her sexuality. So in a way, I think she's kind of both an ancient and modern character, and she has a big interior world. I think we connect with her, we empathize because it talks a lot about, of course, about our desires that. Fortunately, now we are able to live in a more free way, but at the same time, every one of us has had some interior struggle.
oh, very much so. And especially those of us that grew up Catholic. Uh, so let's speak about Cesare for a minute. The father is a very paradoxical character, which I really appreciated.
Mhm.
He's part old-fashioned, he's part modern. You get the sense that he's stuck in a world, and I got this feeling that he longs to leave it. He wants to visit different cultures, but he can't. And he also can't stop making babies.
I I love contradictory worlds and contradictory characters. He can stop making babies because the culture at the time was like babies are strength to work, and they were like really the richness, and of course there wasn't contraception,
Yeah.
and but I think that, as you say, he's really a mix of things that we can recognize as modern, as antique, and that we can love or hate, and that he's in a way he has the responsibility. At the time teachers were really an important figure in overall in small places. They were really a reference, so he has the responsibility for all the town. To his students, he's also a second father overall for the orphans of the war. So in a way he's kind of a reference for everyone, and he has this illuministic way gaze on the world, which has, of course, advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are that he's not racist as the other people in the town, and he accepts a stranger, and that he has a modern pedagogy. At that time, teacher used to hit you in the
Mhm.
hands, and he, on the contrary, he brings culture, high culture, to school. But at the same time, his illuministic vision doesn't allow him to have this capacity to see the emotional intelligence that we were talking
Dino.
about Dino.
Yeah.
And he predicts, he talks about honesty, but then he does differences between the children, and then he kind of he's the patriarch, and he, of course, his relationship to his wife is something unbearable for us now, but at the same time you see that he really deeply loves her. I mean, there were all these possibilities of talking about as an extraordinary man in those ordinary men, and so he has both traces, the typical man, the very harsh, and of course these things that make him a little different.
Well, I'm sure you get asked all the time about the love story at the heart of the film. What I want to ask about is the shocking twist, because I did, without giving anything away, I'm curious, was that based in fact? And what made you make it a part of the story? Because to me, it really brings the story home. Those final scenes are just extraordinary.
Yeah, it is based on facts,
Wow.
and not just one. I mean, there was one very near to my family. But then, studying these cases, I discovered that it was much more common than what we think. Of
Mm.
course, due to the war, because people at war, the archives were not there anymore. You didn't know a lot of things, and distances were enormous. There wasn't communication at the time. It's not now that you know everyone about everyone. everyone. Um, but I strongly wanted this twist in the middle of the film. This because of course the structure of the film is the four seasons, but then there is also this structure of in the middle of the film, from this peace in war moment, and then of this war in peace moment. This twist um, when the war ends for the entire world, the war begins with for the family, and I wanted the viewer to be in the position of receiving these twists in the face as they receive it. Of
Mm.
course, I could have chosen another path, that it was like make the viewer complice from the very beginning of the film, making him know more than Lucia and the family. But I really wanted the viewer to be in their state of mind, in that status quo, of that innocence, of that apparently peaceful world, to understand what happens, to feel what happens when life hits you in the face, and how you stand up again after tragedy. Overall, when tragedy doesn't have a clear face, that events remain opaque and we struggle to understand them, because of course now there's something that remains secret. What was the real intention? What was why? And these things are even more difficult to overcome. But I think the protagonist shows a big strength, a really strength to stay in life, and in a way a pioneeristic attitude to not being victimized and staying in the village, but going and face reality and look reality in the face. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's poetic is what it is, I think. Uh, I think often your film plays like a silent film with these striking faces. You know, your characters, your use of the close-up, I thought was really remarkable. Would you speak a little bit to that and your choices in framing?
I wanted the film to be just, I mean, the dialogues, very few dialogues, just the practical ones, or the whisper in the night, as you say, and then faces to talk, of course. And I mean, the audiovisual, it's such a strong tool that we have to use it. And there were the like this idea of having these enormous landscapes and then going intimate, really, and staying with them and trying to understand what they're feeling. And of course, the camera gives you this possibility. It's always, or quite always, a fixed camera because I wanted the film to be a painted film and a film of details and of layers. And I wanted to give the viewer the time to arrive to few plans. There are very few plans. I don't cover scenes with a lot of points of the camera. I just choose one or two plans to stay there and arrive to this syncretic image that can possibly tell you more than words.
I will end with a two-pronged question. What would making the short list mean to you? And what are you working on next, if you can share?
Okay, the first one is so easy to answer and so banal. It would mean happiness. And also, like, I mean, I feel a responsibility towards the people who chose the film in Italy and want me to represent Italy, the Italian cinema. So, of course, I hope that it will happen not just for me. Um, and next, this is more difficult. There are a lot of things boiling inside the belly, the heart, and brain. I usually need to find a particular silent, physical, or metaphorical concentration to understand the priority among these boiling things. And I have to say that the Oscar campaign doesn't help at all, nor the jet lags. So I'm struggling a little bit with the frustration of this
Sure.
I need this and I always have to catch a plane. But I also I'm very trustful because I know that there is an organic time between a project and the other, also kind of a healthy one, I think. So in a way, I'm very, yeah, calm, and I know that also this is worth. This what I'm doing is worth for the future. So
Very much so. And you know, the campaign, you tend to be asked the same questions over and over again. It's very, very difficult to come up with, new ways. And I know it can be
but
an,
this interview was particularly nice, I have to tell you.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, really.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the film so much. I do hope it makes the shortlist. I think it will. And I want to I want to wish you the best of luck with it, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
your trust.
thank you,
Thank you.
Maura. Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao,
Ciao,
ciao.
ciao.